Hi everyone, in this video we are going to talk about how to renew your US passport overseas for a minor, and this would be a step-by-step guide where I will try to show the detailed end-to-end process from start till end and some tips and tricks from my personal experience, some the list of documents that you will need to apply and all the important links. I'll try to place them at once in the description of the video. So I've done this process myself, and you might need to do this if you've traveled outside the US for a longer period, or you've traveled permanently moved back to your home country. So in my case, I did this process myself in India, and that is what we are going to talk about how to renew your US passport for a minor, in India or anywhere that you're outside the US. So let's get started. The first step, let me talk about a high level process flow of what all you need to do, and then we will go into detail of each of those processes or each of those steps. So first of all, what you would need to do is book an online appointment. Once you've done that, you would have to fill a DS11 form. You would have to gather the necessary documents, then visit the US Embassy from wherever you are applying, and then receive or collect your passport. So if you see, the process is very simple, it's not complex, it's just that you need to pay attention to details for each of these steps that we are going to talk about now. So let's talk about the first step, which is booking an online appointment. So first of all, you'll have to visit this link. I'll place this link in the video description. And as soon as you visit this link, it will take you to this screen where you have to choose your consulate or embassy country. In our case, like I mentioned, I've chosen India, and then you have to choose the city. In India, these are the cities that allow you to renew your US passport. So whichever is the city that is nearest to you, you can choose that consulate or embassy. One thing to note here is that for minors, all the applicants, even children, must appear in person accompanied by both parents. We will be talking about this in detail, but while you are booking your appointment, you should keep this in mind. So once you've chosen your country and city, you click on submit and it will bring you to the next scheme where you have to choose to make an appointment. Later, we'll also talk about once you've chosen appointment, you can come back here, you can click on cancel appointment, provide some details like your name and some password, and then you'll be able to cancel your appointment from here as well. But for now, let's go ahead and talk about how to make an appointment. Once you've clicked on take an appointment, this is the screen that it will bring you to. You should choose this option, which is passport services other than adding pages. So whether you, so since you're applying for renewal of your minor's passport, this is what you need to choose, not reporting or requesting the other services. Then you have to check this box, which is that you've read the instruction, and then click on the submit button. So if you see here, you will also see the embassy that I have chosen earlier in the previous step. Once you click on submit, it will bring you to this screen where you can choose when do you want to book your appointment for. So these are the definition for different colors. So if you see, the gray is where dates have already passed or they're not yet open for appointments. So in short, you'll not be able to book those dates wherever you see a gray color. For the one where you see in blue, those are already booked, all the slots have been taken. And for the yellow ones, those are the ones where you can go ahead and book an appointment. Sometimes it might happen that you are not able to get the appointment for an immediate month. So for example, I am in June, I'm not getting any appointment for June. So I have chosen July. So you might have to look for different months. So you should plan for doing this a little in advance in case you run out of appointments. So once you've decided what date you want to go for your appointment, choose that date, click on this, and it will bring you to the next screen. So you see here, I've chosen July 11 for passport services other than adding pages. Then you choose the time slot that you want to choose. And I'll recommend it, don't book too early or don't book too late. Book somewhere between, early morning or noon so that you have sufficient time to travel and plan for things as you might need to. Once you've done that, it will bring you to the next screen where you have to fill the applicant's name, surname, given name as per the passport and date of birth. Remember, you don't have to fill your detail. It is the minor's detail that you have to fill. Then you fill your email ID and your contact number. You might prefix or might not prefix it with the country code. So in my case, I've prefixed it with +91, but this field is not limited to a certain character. So you can choose to either add or not add your country code. Then you should also mention the name of who would be accompanying the minor. You should mention your name, and I would recommend that you also suffix it with, whether this is the father and this is the mother who are going to visit this. So you have to provide the parents' names who are going to go along with the minor applicant. Then there's the security code that you have to fill. You checkbox this, reading the Privacy Act notice and understanding how your data will be used. And then you click on the continue button. Once you click on the continue button, you see you'll get this option. So your appointment has been booked already. You can just click on print this button, which I'll be showing you now. And so your appointment has been booked for the date and time that you've chosen. Now, if you note here, this is the password that I was talking about. You can use this password to go back to the screen where you saw make an appointment or cancel an appointment. In case of any change in plans, you can go ahead, provide your name, date of birth, and the appointment password, and you should be able to cancel your appointment as you need. So once you've clicked on print, this is how a PDF copy will be generated. You should actually print this and take this with you. So I'll be talking about this further when we'll be talking about documentation, but this process will complete your process. So you can either save this on your phone or computer and print it later, or you might print it immediately as well. So your first step, if you see, is done. Booking an online appointment is done. Let's go to the next step, which is filling the DS11 form. Now for filling the DS11 form, there are two options. You can either fill in online directly. This is the link that I'll be placing in the video description. Or the second option is you can take a printout of a blank DS11 form and fill it yourself. But again, my recommendation is to go ahead, fill it online, because it will directly show you what fields to fill and what not to. So now I'm going to walk you through the steps to fill an online passport application form or the DS11 form. So the link that I shared, there's another way to reach that link is you go to the usembassy.gov website and you click on US Citizen Services, because you're booking or you're booking an appointment for renewing the passport for a minor. So once you've chosen the US Citizen Services, go to passports and then click here, complete online passport application here. So that is where you can go ahead and start your online application. So it will bring you to this screen. So this is the same screen that I showed you. So if you click on this link, it will directly bring you to this screen, or you can follow the steps that I just mentioned, going to the US Embassy website, but ultimately it will bring you to this screen. So you check this box that you read the privacy and other disclaimers, and then you click on submit. As soon as you click on submit, now you have to click on this button, which is to complete the online form. And once you click on the submit button, it will bring you to this page. You can read the Privacy Act statement and some of the tips before you start. What it mentions here is any field that are mentioned with a star, they are mandatory fields. So you should not leave any star related field blank. It will ask you, the system will ask you to fill that field, and it will not allow you to proceed until then. So fill your name as per the passport that you already have, right? Because we're talking about renewing a passport. So the minor would already have a passport on which they would have traveled overseas. So provide the first name and last name and date of birth in MMDDYY format. This is important to note because in some places you would have a DDMMYY format, but in US the MMDDYY format is followed, and that is how you have to provide your date of birth. So you have to provide your city of birth, whatever it is. Even if you're born outside, then you have to provide United States as your country, and you have to give your social security number. In case you do not have a social security number or it's in process, then you can fill it with all the zeros. Then fill all the other details specific to the applicant, like a male, female, height, color, eye color, occupation. So all of those things that you'll have to fill. In case of a minor, you may mention occupation as minor. Then you have to enter your address, which is your current address where you are staying overseas. In this case, for example, it is Delhi, and then you can choose the state. You can enter, you must enter a valid telephone number and email address. Now, what is your preferred method of communication? You can choose email or actual physical mail, but I think email is more preferable, considering you will get it directly on your phone and or system, and mail will take time. So provide your email ID and your phone number. You don't need to provide your country code here. Once you've given your address and email, phone information, if you have a travel plan in a few coming weeks or months, then you should mention your travel dates. If you do not have a travel plan, if you see these fields are not mandatory, then you can move to the next step. Who should we contact in case of an emergency? Now, what you should note here is that the system allows you to put only an overseas address as the address, which is outside India. So you will have to choose a US state and US zip code. If you have any relatives or that are staying there, it will not accept an Indian PIN code. Why? When you go for your appointment, you can ask them that you had to fill a US state and US zip code, and you want it to be corrected in case you do not have a US address. But this is where you'll put your emergency contact address, and it will have to be an address in the United States where you stayed earlier, or you're still staying, or some of your relatives are staying. Then it will bring you to the next page, which is if you've issued a passport, then do you have your passport already? What was the date on your passport? What is your name and what is the passport number? So you should fill these information as soon as you choose. Whatever option you choose, the other options will also go ahead. Then you have to click on the next button. Then this is the applicant's parents and spouse information. So, this is where you'll have to fill whether this is mother or father, right? And you'll have to give both of those both of these details here, father name and mother name. And in case of spouse, you'll have to mention the spouse details here, and then you can click on the next button. Have you been known by any other names? If you have any other, you can. Otherwise, you can skip because this is not mandatory and go on to the next screen. Once you've done that, your DS11 online form is almost complete. You can preview the form and edit the information by clicking on that specific section. And then otherwise, your form is complete. Once you click on next, it will show you what is the fees for getting a new passport book issued. So even though officially it says that you do not need to choose an expedited option because passports that are printed for citizens abroad, they're automatically expedited considering they might be in a need to renew this. However, if you are really in a need, if you need an urgent passport renewal because it is almost nearing expiry, I'll still recommend you to choose the expedited service. Even though the embassy does not encourage you to use that, it encourages you to use a routine service if you are applying from outside the US. So you can choose this. We will be talking about how do you make the fees payment later, but this is at this point you just need to choose this option. You don't need to pay anything as of now, and we'll talk about how and when to pay later in the video. So once you filled all that information, click on this button, which is, check that you've read and acknowledge all the terms and conditions. Then you click on this button, which is create form. And when you do, your form like this will be printed. Make sure you do not fill this information that you see here. It is specifically mentioned, stop and continue to page 2. This is something that when you visit the US Embassy in your country is when the officials will fill this. You don't have to do this. You should select page 5 and 6 and you should print that application. This is where all the details are. So with this, you are done with your second step also. So you've booked an online appointment, you filled your DS11 form. Now let's go to what all are the documents that you need for your appointment that you book to visit the US Embassy. If you see here for documentation, it is marked with an asterisk, and during any time, if you think while we're talking about the documents, if you do not have any important documents that you need, or you don't know how to get those documents, you can click on this link that I'll be sharing in the video description. For example, you do not have a birth certificate. How and where can you get that birth certificate from is what is mentioned in this website. And similarly for some other relevant important documents that we will be talking about. So this link is very helpful for anyone who does not have the required documentation. So first of all, what I'm going to tell you is high level details again of what all documents that you need, and then going into detail of what all are the accepted documents. So first of all, you need a proof of US citizenship for the applicant. So assuming that the minor or the applicant is a US citizen, because that is why they have a US passport. So this is the first and foremost thing that you need: proof of US citizenship. What you will need is a proof of parent-child relationship. You will need present parents valid IDs. We'll be talking about in details about each of these documents, what these are, what are accepted documents. Then you need a passport size photo. I'll recommend you keep 2 or 3 passport size photos. Completed DS11 form that we just talked about. This is very important, photo showing age progression, and we will be talking about it later in detail. But for now, these are the documents that you need. So this is the list of all the documents that you need. Let's talk about acceptable documents now. So first is proof of US citizenship. So in most cases, it should be a fully validated US passport with full validity. A US birth certificate can also be accepted as a proof of US citizenship. It should be supported with the US passport. So if you have a US passport, it can also be supported with US birth certificate, and it should have parent's name, a seal and registrar's signature. So it should be official birth certificate issued by the state or city, and the date of certificate when it was filed with the registrar office. So if you just have a hospital birth certificate, that is not acceptable. It should be a formal registered birth certificate. There are some other documents that you might also provide for as a proof of US citizenship: a consular report of birth abroad, a certificate of naturalization or certificate of citizenship. In case these documents are applicable to you, these are one of the documents that you need to submit as proof of your US citizenship along with the US passport. So the next is proof of parent-child relationship, which is one you must keep photocopy of all the documents and the originals. I'll be talking about some important tips later towards the end of the document, but this is one of those where you'll need to keep all the originals, and the originals are returned to you. You do not need to submit your originals. Plus, you should keep photocopies of those documents. But a proof of parent-child relationship, you should have definitely original and a photocopy. Now, what is acceptable as a proof of parent-child relationship? Like we discussed before, a US birth certificate with both parents' name, and it should be registered, or you should have it from the state. Hospital birth certificates are not acceptable. Then if you do not have this, I highly recommend you have this and you go ahead with this, because this is the document that I also had, and the process is fairly easy with this. But if not, you can have minus consular report of birth abroad with both the parents' name, or in case the birth certificate is a foreign birth certificate, then again, if this is different from the US, please, you'll have to bring the US birth certificate or consular report like I mentioned above. If the minor is adopted, then the adoption decree with the adopting parents' names and court order establishing the custody. So if you see here, all these foreign documents are marked with double asterisks. That is because all foreign documents must be accompanied by an English translation, whether it is formal or informal, which is whether it is approved, authorized or not, but it should be accompanied with the English translation. And a court order establishing a guardianship in case of you are a guardian and you're not a parent. Okay, Additionally, documentation that you need is parents' valid ID. So you've provided minors citizenship proof. You've provided an evidence that you are related to the minor. Now the embassy needs your valid IDs, which are any of these documents: your US or foreign passports, your US or Indian driver license, your military ID, state IDs, your green card, your government ID, your PAN card, or your Aadhaar card. Because in our case, I have taken an example of India. So in India, these are the documents that you can provide as parents' valid ID proof. What else do you need? One passport size photo with a white background. Keep in mind, it should be a white background, not a light gray, yellow background. It should be a white background, and it should be 2 by 2 inches in size. You should not be wearing any eyeglasses in those pictures. So usually in case of minors, there are some relaxations that are allowed because in case you're not able to click a picture appropriately, but you should at least follow these guidelines at the minimum. So if the eyes are closed, that might be acceptable to them, but try to click a few pictures in case the minor is not opening their eyes. Try to click a few pictures and provide that picture where the eyes are also open. You have to complete the DS11 passport application that we've already talked about, and you have to take a printout of the barcoded application. So once you generate it online or you print that application, there will be a barcode that is what you should print, and you should take it for your physical appointment. Further, photo showing age progression. This is very important in case of a minor because we sometimes overlook this as a part of document because this is not a regular or usual document that you would take for a passport or a visa appointment. So if your child's most recent passport was issued while they were under the age of 5, you should take photos that show the age progression of the child from when that original passport was applied till the current age. So for example, let's say your minor was born and you applied for their passport in 3 or 6 months, and you are applying for a renewal of passport in 5 years. So you should have pictures of the minor with yourself showing the age progression, that these are the pictures at 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, and 5 year, just to establish or prove that you have been staying with the minor for last 5 years. So this is very important. I myself was not aware of this. Thanks to my wife, she read it, and we took these photos. So what they'll do is they'll look at those photos, they'll keep some of those photos with themselves along with the application, and they will return rest of the photos back to you. And once you receive your passport, the photos that they've kept, those will also be handed over to you once you collect the new passport. Other is parental consent for minors. Again, this is very important. So children under the age of 16 obviously cannot apply for a passport by themselves. They are under guardianship of either parents or other guardians. Both the parents must authorize the issue of the child's passport. And the best way to authorize this is that both the parents go for the application. But in case any of the parents is not able to go, then they can fill form DS3053 in case any of the parents is unable to visit. And I will be sharing a relevant link that has detailed instructions of in case one of your parent is not able to go, how to go about it and what to do next. Just summarizing again the documentation that you need. So you need a proof of US citizenship, you need proof of parent-child relationship, parents' valid IDs, passport size photo of the minor, completed DS11 and printed, and photo showing age progression. And in case if you do not have any of the documents needed, you can always refer to this link for obtaining these vital documents. So now you've booked an appointment, you filled your DS11 application, you've gathered all the necessary documents. What next? You have to visit the US Embassy next. Now I'm going to talk about some of the tips and tricks about visiting US Embassy, because these are the things that you'll not probably find anywhere, and these are ones that I am sharing from my personal experience. So when you have to visit the US Embassy on the date of your appointment, plan for your visit in advance. If you are working, you need to take for leaves, apply for a full day, plan for at least 2 or 3 days before, or 2 or 3 hours before your appointment time, considering how much time you need to travel and how much time you need to go in advance. So plan for that day in advance. look for a parking space around. So usually around these embassies, you might not be able to park immediately nearby. So look for some place, let's say 500 meters or a kilometer away, at 10-15 minutes walk maybe. So plan, research where is the nearest parking, and then plan your car and take either a cab or an auto or a tuk-tuk from there to reach the embassy. So plan where you need to park your car if you're driving, or the recommendation would be you can just take a cab, get dropped at the embassy, finish your work, and come back in another. The next thing that you should look for is leaving your cell phones in car or deposit them in a locker. If it is possible that don't need to take your cell phones, that you can do, which is very tough in today's world, but you can leave your cell phones in the car, or you might have to get into a queue or take the risk of depositing them in a locker. Next is be prepared for a security check, and that is why I say leave your phones in a car. So it is like the security check that you would undergo at an airport. So the embassy has this kind of a security check in case you've never been to the US embassy earlier. So just FYI, you would visit the section for US citizens and not immigrants. So there would be two separate sections for citizens and immigrants. Next, once you've gone there, you have to go to the counter, wait for your turn, show your documents, and get a token number. So they would just at a high level look through your documentation, that your documentation looks okay for proceeding with the appointment. And if everything looks okay, they would give you a token. Now, once you have the token, they would ask you to go to a next window and pay the fees. So we will be talking about the fees in the just in a few more seconds, but you'll have to pay the fees. And once you've paid the fees, then you'll have to wait to be called for your turn by your token numbers. You have the token number, you wait the payment, you'll get a receipt, and then just wait for your turn. Then you can prepare your kid to interact with the counselor. Even though the kid is minor, if he's 3, 4, 5, they might just want to interact by saying, hi, how are you? Who are these people with you who are accompanying you? So you can prepare your kids to be prepared to be answered that. Upon acceptance, so once the counselor at the embassy, he's convinced that your documentation is complete, they will say that your application has been accepted, and then you'll receive your passport. While going out, you can visit the courier center again. That is what I'll be showing you or talking about as well in the coming video. Now, about the fees. So if you see, if you are going to the embassy in person, if you're applying in person, you can either pay with cash dollars, or you can pay with cash rupees, or you can pay with a credit card as well. Now, credit card could also be a US card or an Indian card. Both are accepted. And in case if you want to pay by a demand draft, that also you can do. There might be some information that is the latest information that will be displayed over there, that whether cards are accepted or not, but usually cash, dollar, rupees, credit card, or demand draft, all of this is accepted. So if you're getting a demand draft made, then demand draft have to be made in the favor of US Consulate General. Now here I've just shown it for Chennai. You may choose Delhi, Hyderabad, Kolkata in the instructions page link that I'll share with you. But this is where the demand draft has to be made in favor of. One note here is that the consulate is not able to accept handwritten demand draft. So whichever bank you are choosing to get your demand draft made, get a computerized demand draft made. Now, what is the fees? So the fees for a minor passport is $135. And if you convert it into Indian rupees, the website will show you the consular exchange rate. So at this time of the year, it's a dollar is equal to 80 Indian rupees. So converted by that, this is the relevant amount of Indian rupees that you can pay with the payment methods that I've shown earlier. In case you're looking for a minor passport card or both of these, then these are the other applicable fees. So now you've finished your process of booking an online appointment, filling a DS-11 form, getting the necessary documentation, and visiting the US Embassy. You're almost done. What you need to do next is receive or collect your passport. So how to receive or collect your passport? You can either pick it up yourself, you can choose to pick it up, or get it delivered at your home. So I'll recommend, getting it delivered at home, so you don't have to go again just to collect it. It is delivered in a secure way. These are the courier options when you're walking out of the embassy, when you're walking out of the consular room. So you can pay a courier fees of Indian rupees 750 to, Blue Dart is the preferred vendor that they have with cash or credit card. In case you don't want to do that, you can do that via a bank draft as well, but they usually accept cash or credit card. So this is the most convenient way of, choosing to receive or collect your passport. So you can pay this fees, and they will give you an acknowledgement or a receipt that your passport, once it is received, it will be sent to your address that you've chosen, or you can give them the address there where you want it to be delivered. So this is where you can then track it on the Blue Dart website as well. You can also check the status of your passport. I'll place this important link also in the description of the video, so you can track your passport by entering your passport number or the application number. So you've completed all the steps, but now I'm going to talk about some important points that you should keep in mind. So first is, like I've mentioned before, all applicants, the children must also appear in person accompanied by both the parents. In case either of the parents is not able to visit, here is the link of detailed instructions of what you can do. The processing time is about 2 to 3 weeks, so you should plan for it accordingly. In case you have some travel plan that is on the cards, and you should plan for applying at least a month in advance. And if you're talking about a passport cards, they may even take more than 4 weeks. So that is how you should plan accordingly. And in case you have a travel plan, you should discuss that while during your appointment, as you may then require an emergency passport. They will let you know if this is regular time period when your travel is planned, and whether you will receive your passport within that time or not. You must bring all your original documents along with their photocopy. So if you're not sure about photocopies, I'll recommend you take the photocopies of the original documents with you wherever you are unsure also. Original documents are returned to you after reviewing your application, and your photos, like I mentioned, they will be kept and they will be couriered to you along with the new passport. You must provide a social security number in your DS11 form. If you do not have social security number and you want to apply for one, I'll place the link in the description video so you can follow the prescribed process. These are all the important reference links that I've brought together in a single place, and I will place them in the description of this video. So to book an appointment, we've already seen this link. These are the detailed instructions with respect to renewing passports for children. How to fill, this is filling the DS11 form online. These link is about steps to fill the DS11 form online. About the complete fees information that I showed, this is on this link. Obtaining vital documents. If you don't have any documents or your documents are missing, you can go here. Then in case your parents cannot appear in person, you can refer to this link. To check the status of your passport, this is the link. And to obtain a social security number for your child, if you do not have, this is the link. So this is where you'll see you can see further details here. Thank you so much for watching.